AI being such a powerful tool, the ability to access things when you're asking correctly is absolutely terrifying. And once the world gets a hold of that and realizes that, you could be scammed, you could be, all your information can be stolen that you thought was private.
Welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm joined by Ken, the founder of PrivateAI. What we speak about here on the RevGenAI Podcast is we focus on how B2B leaders are generating revenue in 2026 through AI, thought leadership, and ultimately how they're generating their go-to-market systems. Today, we'll speak about what PrivateAI does, who they're really serving, and what's actually working in their market to create trust, generate pipeline, and turn their expertise into revenue. Ken, it's great to have you.
Appreciate you having me, Myra. Thank you.
Of course. So can you share what PrivateAI does, who you sell to, and really what problem you guys are solving?
Absolutely. We developed PrivateAI when we saw a need of private companies, healthcare, legal firms, people with restrictions about using AI. We saw that the big need was to have a private one that didn't push all their information out to public, especially with HIPAA and different legal constraints with lawyers, different privacy things. There's a huge need for a private AI. One of the big misconceptions in this world is people think that when they ask AI a question or put something in AI, it doesn't necessarily stay private to them. One of the examples that we use was we're friends with somebody in HR, and they were sitting on their couch cranking out some emails and looking for a specific resume. And the husband said to the wife, who was the HR director, why don't you just put it all in AI? AI can quickly find whatever resume you're looking for. And she's like, well, that'll save me a ton of time. She downloaded all the files into AI, and sure enough, AI came right up with her answer. She got done and realized that search just put everybody's resumes, all 100 and some resumes that she was searching through, right up in the public cloud, and everybody had access to them. So in order to prevent that, we came up with PrivateAI. PrivateAI is completely private to your information. It doesn't send anything out. It only uses APIs to get information back in. Where that gets really creative is we use APIs into certain programs that you currently have or programs that you want. LexisNexis, anything, Clio, all these different apps that are generally used in certain industries, and we can connect them straight to your PrivateAI, so you have perfect access without, what's the correct term? Fodder, basically, incorrect information, and you get pure data into your AI platform.
Yeah, I like the understanding of just how powerful AI is. Doesn't mean that it's accessible for everyone, because there's a lot of companies that operate under strict compliance and regulations that would prevent them from making use of it. And so you're finding that specific problem and finding an answer for it. Can you explain to us a little bit about how your solution works and how are you really positioning yourself in the market to serve this exact pain point?
First and foremost, we use basically a Nutanix platform as our base. And then we've developed our own private AI system to basically integrate on a Nutanix platform. After that, you asked about marketing. Our main focus is legal right now. Being in marketing and stuff, you understand the importance of being dialed into one specific thing and being the very best at the one specific thing. We found that currently legal and healthcare have, as a vertical, have the two biggest constraints. So those are our two focuses right off the bat, legal being the priority right now. And then we'll switch to healthcare, because healthcare's got a huge need. What we're seeing in the marketplace is that a lot of the big boys, Nutanix, Dell, HP, Cisco, they're all searching for massive accounts. They're looking for, the big Fortune 500 companies, and that's all they want to work with. But in legal, there's not many Fortune 500 legal companies. They're all, SMBs and smaller companies that are approachable, will talk to you, have just as great a need as some of the big Fortune 500 companies. So we're focusing on them right now, and that should carry us up, through success.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the focus on becoming the best in a specific niche. I think where most companies struggle is trying to serve everyone and not having a very clear focus on what exact problem they're honing in on and who exactly benefits most. And I like the clarity of legal and understanding that these smaller companies are more approachable and also have a very strong need that you solve. You mentioned that your biggest lever right now is increasing sales. I'm curious, what actually is really working right now to generate more pipeline or more opportunities, more deals with legal?
When we first we started off rather broad. Started off in many verticals, different salesmen, different verticals, and that we weren't overly successful with that. We did find some success, but we wanted to become a dominant force, and we had to narrow it down to just legal. Once we get to legal and we have great traction and we're moving forward with, we'll say 20, 30 legal projects, then we'll start working more towards healthcare, agriculture, other things like that. But we just really needed to pinpoint focus in on legal. So refocusing and staying in a smaller market has definitely shown improvements on our side.
Definitely. Again, I think the idea of first focusing on a specific market, getting credibility before you look at adjacent markets makes a lot of sense. I'm really curious though, because I know that regulated buyers typically they need a lot of trust. How do you build credibility and educate those buyers, and not overhype your capabilities either, to really be able to create the opportunity for a sales conversation and ultimately an active deal?
As far as building trust, that comes from the projects we've previously done. We've done many high-profile projects with many Fortune 500 companies and stuff like that. References from them, just the mention of, we're the ones that did their infrastructure and things like that, give us access to just about anybody. We've done SLED, Fed, and Fortune 500 companies, hundreds of them. So once they see the caliber of the projects we've done, that's not an issue.
For sure. Having the case studies is definitely helpful now, but like, how did you get the opportunity to serve those bigger companies to begin with? Like, what really worked to be able to get your foot in the door, especially before you had the case studies? That may be more helpful for listeners who don't have that credibility yet.
Conversations, not being scared to call somebody, talk to them, have one-on-one conversations with them that are not always business related. Listen, listening is just as important as talking. Hear what their problems are. Don't have one conversation, have 10. That's what originally got us started. When we first got our first major customer, I'll bet you it was 20, 30 conversations that we had over the period of 4 or 5 months to get the big one. Since that point, one person talks to another person, project comes around. And to be honest with you, it was a slow start. We didn't jump right into this and have success. It was slow, took a lot of work, a lot of calling, being told no, being told come back in another 6 months when we have, a budget for this. It's constant. You have to be able to shake the word no right off your skin and just keep on going.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's really sharp insight for somebody who is kind of in that phase where they're hearing a lot of no's and they just need to keep plugging away at it. I definitely know that I've been there. But let's talk a little bit about what outcomes really, private AI enables, and where you guys are actually like delivering commercial value versus where you feel kind of like AI is kind of still too hyped up or too risky for regulated buyers, and how you can help kind of like distinguish where it's actually valuable versus where the misconceptions still lie.
I think there's a big reckoning coming. That reckoning is coming from once everybody gets an understanding of the loss of information from internal employees using AI and it not being secure, and a lot of trademarks and private information being out there. AI being such a powerful tool, the ability to access things when you're asking correctly is absolutely terrifying. And once the world gets a hold of that and realizes that, you could be scammed, you could be, all your information can be stolen that you thought was private because somebody put it up on Chat GTP or Copilot or what have you. Things are going to have to change, and it'll change right straight into a private AI system that does not, how do I say, securely communicate with the outside.
I'm curious because I'm in that boat where I'm using, these platforms, and by default they are sharing, they're improving the model for everyone, but is it not the case that legally speaking, if you ask them to not share your data or not use your data, not train on your data, that they have to do that, and that it's not showing up for other people, or is that just kind of like what they say, but it could be that you don't really have full visibility into it?
That's correct. You don't have full visibility into it, and all the information goes somewhere. Where does it go? And that isn't really shared with us, and we don't really know. Is it in a secure server somewhere? Maybe. Is it unsecured? Maybe. Either way, it left your hands, it left your property, it left your servers, and went somewhere where you have no control over.
Yeah. I think I think you said that well, because really, like, sometimes we care about the convenience or the utility of a tool, not really understanding the risks. And so I think when people begin to experience those risks, that's when people will start to pay more attention to private AI. And I think that there is definitely a use for it, for not just, regulated buyers, but also regular companies that just want to kind of secure and know that their data is not being leaked or being shared with their competitors, or even with these large language models that could be making use of it in ways that they don't appreciate. Um, I'm
Well,
curious about another aspect of like, when you come to a company and speak to them about this problem, and suggest private AI deployment. What concerns of theirs often stop or slow down a deal, and kind of like are a hindrance to them going with a solution like this?
usually when I start my conversations with a company, I use HR as an example. It's a very easy example. It's very, HR is very complex, and the data that's in HR is incredibly sensitive. So if I'm talking to you and you're the person, you're my customer, I'd say, what's your HR department doing right now with AI? And they're like, oh, they use AI to generate documents and this and that, and then I remind them, all that information goes right straight to the public cloud. You have no control over it. It's out there. Somebody can find it if they want it. Now, what if your HR department decided, I want to check the value of employee X. Here's what we're paying them. Here's what we're profiting off of them. And then they wanted to search it across every single employee in the whole place to find out the profitability per employee. They put that in the public cloud to do that, which the public cloud can easily do that without a problem. They could show profitability per employee, per hour, per shift, per, piece of equipment that they're working on. All that's out there. Now you have no control over that data. Your competitors could essentially look that up and find that information out about your company and adjust to basically outperform your company. So a private AI would allow you to do the exact same thing without any of that information going to your public cloud.
So I guess I understand your value proposition. What I'm more curious about is kind of like, what do you feel is really slowing down the growth and hindering you from being able to increase your sales when the companies that you speak to really can understand the value once you're able to kind of communicate it? What do you feel is the biggest bottleneck for you increasing your sales?
General knowledge on AI. I think there's a big misconception on AI and the security of AI. You hear a lot of people, uh, they get unrealistic thoughts about AI and the security of AI. As that security concern grows, I think the sales will grow exponentially. As from my side, it's a lot of marketing, putting information and getting calls to people who truly need this and don't know about it. So it's two-part: marketing to people and educating them would be the hindrances in current sales growth.
And I like to ask this question a lot because it gets interesting answers. So like, if you can wave a magic wand and solve one big bottleneck in your business tomorrow to help you grow, what would you wish for?
It would all be around marketing and sales. Marketing and sales is a really tough area of business. When you come from, like myself, like an operational standpoint, marketing and sales is a different world. It takes a different communication level to deal with salesmen and marketing people. They don't tend to communicate and operate on the same wavelength as somebody who's in operations. That's not necessarily a negative thing. It's just a challenge for people who do operations and day-to-day functions of a business.
Definitely. I think it's a different mindset or just a different way of working or thinking, but being able to tie all those together and bring great people in. I think from what I see a lot, the utility of AI is kind of limited by your own understanding and the questions that you ask and the solutions that you already know about. And so having people who are experts in different fields, I think is very valuable still. And AI hasn't, replaced all those necessities for companies. So yeah, definitely having the clarity of this being the constraint, I think is kind of why I like that question. Is just like, if you just focus on that portion of the business, then you'll grow. Because I'm from everything that you shared, it's very clear that you have, very sound credibility and expertise in, private AI and helping companies build these systems. Last question here is for us to kind of like help any entrepreneur who's starting out their journey or still trying to figure things out, where you said before, like a lot of times you go through that phase of getting a lot of no's. If somebody was listening and they're still in that phase today, and they're, living in 2026, they have access to these amazing tools, what would be the best actionable steps that you would give them to be able to, increase their revenue and be more successful in their business?
I got a two-part answer to that. First one, learn AI. AI is an incredible educational tool that when you learn how to use it properly, it is very, very powerful. You can basically design a whole business plan, start to finish, and follow it and be successful with AI if you're asking it the right things. If you need to learn AI, check out Coursively. Coursively is fantastic for learning basic AI. I took it. I have a bunch of my employees take it. It's just a tremendous asset, a great way to learn entry-level AI. The next part is especially in business and in regular life, you have good days, you have bad days. You have good weeks, you have bad weeks, you have good months, and you have bad months. The objective for the year is to have a balance of good days and bad days. So take your licks when you take them, come back fighting, and just continue the fight.
That's a good message to leave on. Is kind of like perseverance is what allows you to eventually overcome these challenges. Also being willing to learn. I think always being an internal learner, and we're approaching this complete transformation of how work is done with this new technology, and being able to adapt to it and adopt it, I think is going to be really essential. Those were great takeaways. Ken, thank you so much for this conversation. For anyone who wants to reach out to you or to Private AI, where's the best place for them to find you?
The best place to reach me is cagetechcloud.com. Private AI in a box is the solution. You can find that on Cage Tech Cloud or privateainabox.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ken.
Wonderful. Thank you.